We are very pleased at the 495 MetroWest Partnership to be joined this morning by a representative of the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust. The Massachusetts Clean Water Trust is, of course, a state agency that provides low-interest loans to municipalities and other eligible entities for the purpose of improving water quality throughout the Commonwealth. Loan funding is provided through the Massachusetts State Revolving Funds. This morning, we will hear an overview of the resources available, as well as information regarding new sources of funding coming to Massachusetts. Our presenter this morning is Nate Keenan, who is the Deputy Director of the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust. Nate has worked for the Clean Water Trust since 2011. During that time, he has worked to execute over $1 billion in bond transactions and helped to develop the green bond and sustainability bond disclosures into an industry standard for municipal debt issuers. Additionally, Nate works with various stakeholders to ensure the trust is meeting the needs of its borrowers, which has led to the development of various new programs aimed at decreasing costs. Nate has a bachelor's degree from St. Michael's College and his master's from Suffolk University. He lives in Boston with his wife, Ashley, and 2 dogs. We are very pleased that he has taken the time to address our water stakeholders this morning. So with that, I will turn it over to Nate.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you for that introduction. Just give me 1 second to share my screen. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
All right, excellent, great, thank you. And thank you for the background on the trust. It kind of catches everyone up to speed on what we do if you're not sure. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, so as he mentioned, the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust provides financing to cities, towns, and public water suppliers for infrastructure development for clean water projects. We are funded by annual EPA grants and state matching funds as well. So we take those funds and go into the bond market and issue debt to increase capacity for these projects. So to date, we've issued about $8.1 billion in loans for about 300 communities, serving 97% of the Commonwealth's population. So as we talk about these sorts of projects, so for clean water projects, we're focused on environmental concerns, how these projects impact the environmental outcomes of our communities. So we're looking at wastewater treatment improvements, so treatment plant upgrades to meet new permitting requirements, CSO work, which is always going on in the Commonwealth. Always an issue that we're still working through. Updated stormwater management issues that we're seeing more and more of as the requirements change. I&I work, sewer system rehab, nutrient enrichment projects, which are big around lakes, rivers, oceans, things like that, which we have plenty of in the state. And then also non-point source work. So this is where we can get a little bit more creative with green projects and things like that. Basically anything with a water quality benefit, we can finance on the clean water side. So if you have a different type of project that you're thinking of, please let us know and we can kind of work through how this could work into our program. And then for drinking water projects, these are more straightforward. These are focused on public health. So drinking water plant treatment improvements, transmission distribution, source protection, storage improvements, and planning are kind of the bread and butter here. What we're focused on recently, as you're probably aware, is PFAS. With the new requirements in place, we're seeing a lot more PFAS projects come forward, and we do have a specialized loan program for that we're pretty excited about. It's been pretty successful so far. And then also a new issue coming up, or not a new issue, but a new focus that we're really trying to get at is lead, identifying and removing lead from our system. So we hopefully will have more on that in the near future, but those are kind of the big items on drinking water right now. So with that said, why do you put up with the trust? Most cities and towns in the Commonwealth can easily issue debt on their own. They're very professionalized, very capable of doing so. So why do you deal with us? We offer a fixed low interest rate, 2%, and it offers a stability for planning purposes for cities and towns. You don't have to worry about any issues going to the market, and if the market changes on that day when you're about to issue debt, that your debt service is going to change. This is set, and you know what you're going to be getting. So 2% for 20 years, and then anything above 20 years has a interest rate about 2.2% right now, based on market rate at time of closing, but it is subsidized, so you're not looking at market rate for 30 years. And then I'll get into this later, but we do have a number of projects that qualify for 0% or sub 2% loans. In addition to that, we offer construction financing. So instead of issuing bands in the public market, you can come through us for all your financing needs. So from day one, we can finance the project as soon as you need cash from us. So as I mentioned, terms can go up to 30 years, and we can structure the debt service based on either level debt service, level principal, or if you need something a little bit more creative, we can talk and see if there's a way we can work our debt service into your existing debt service schedules. And then finally, maybe our biggest cost saving here is our disadvantaged communities program. So this is based on federal law on both the Clean Water and the Drinking Water and the Safe Drinking Water Act. We had to develop this metric for measuring disadvantaged communities and for providing our additional subsidy. If you see in this table here, the percentage of loan forgiveness provided to clean water and drinking water based on the affordability tier. And so this is where the real savings is in addition to the subsidized loan rate. This is all on our website if you want to check it out. It's all the information is public. We get it from DOR and different sources that we link to. So you can go ahead and check out where your town ranks and also where the information is coming from. So this will be important later on as well, because the new infrastructure funding from the Biden administration is all mostly focused on disadvantaged communities and getting the additional subsidy to the communities that need it the most. All right, I'll just briefly go through the process so we just talked about what we do, and this is how you get the funds. So we work closely with Mass DEP. Mass DEP are the engineers and the brilliant minds behind what gets funded, what does not, based on need. So we're looking at environmental concerns and public health concerns. So Mass DEP goes out for a project solicitation in the summer and then publishes an intended use plan by the beginning of the next calendar year. So using the next solicitation as our guide, it will go out in 2022, July and August 2022. And then the intended use plan, which is our funding list, will be published in January of 2023. Currently, our 2022 intended use plan is out for public comment on Mass DEP's website. There's a public comment period, and then it will be finalized. So if you're interested in that, please check that out and provide any comments you would like to Mass DEP on the list. So from there, the borrowers need to get debt authorization from the community. So we need that by June 30th of 2023. And then the loan application goes into Mass DEP. And so we can really move as fast as the community wants to move. These are deadlines. They're not requirements to get it in on that day. So we can move as fast as the community wants, because this can take a little bit of time if you're hitting all the deadlines or the drop dead dates, basically. So then a loan commitment is issued end of that calendar year, and that goes to our board for approval, and then the project goes out to bid. And then contracts are awarded that summer, loan agreements are executed, and then the project funding begins. When we start funding the project through our interim financing, we then look to permanently finance the project in our upcoming bond deal based on estimated completion date and the percentage drawn. So since we are a state revolving fund, it benefits us to get the loans back into repayment so we can make more loans with those funds that are being repaid. So we look to projects that are 50% drawn or estimated to be completed shortly. All right, so that's our process. And then here are the additional subsidy programs we're offering through the trust. So one we've been offering now for the past, this is our third year, is our asset management planning grants. So we offer 60% costs on these planning grants to help communities ensure the operational integrity of their water utilities. So 60% from us, 40% from the community, or they can also borrow the additional 40% match from us as well. And then we manage the Cape and Islands Water Protection Trust Fund. The fund itself sits with us. It's managed by the board on the Cape, but the fund sits with us. The reason why I'm raising this program here is that the Cape has an issue with their wastewater needs down there. And so they came up with an interesting regional solution to this by charging an Airbnb tax of 2.75%, or short-term rental tax at 2.75% on all rentals. And it's collected by DOR and it's deposited in an account that sits with us, and the board on the Cape directs where those funds go. So it's just a really interesting way that a region looked at their need and then looked at the resources they had to solve that problem. So it's a really good model for looking at it regionally. And I know a lot of communities are looking to do that in the future. So it's just an interesting idea of what else is out there. The fund is actually doing great, and it's providing 25% loan forgiveness to projects coming through the trust. So it's putting out serious funding right now. And then in addition, we offer the Housing Choice Loan Program. So communities that achieve the Housing Choice designation through the administration receive 50 basis point reduction on their loan. So if you have a 2% loan, you could actually get it for 1.5%. And so this is just trying to incentivize communities to get the Housing Choice designation and move forward to other priorities in the state. And then we also offer 0% loans for nutrient enrichment reduction. So projects that are remediating nutrients that are flowing into our water bodies get a greater subsidy to try to get that fixed. And then finally, our 0% interest PFAS loans. So as everyone here probably knows, PFAS is a major issue right now. And with the new regulations, we needed a way to incentivize these projects to move forward because it's being found in so many different places. So the easiest way is offer 0% financing to get these projects going forward. And it's been very successful so far. And we're only going to see an increase in these projects, unfortunately. All right, and then this is a kind of a one-off, a different program that we've been running over the past few years. So we realized that there's an issue in schools with lead in schools. So we put $2.75 million into testing a number of years ago, and we identified a need in schools. And so from there, we took about a few $1 million from the state legislature to create the SWG program, which is the best acronym in state government, I think, the School Water Improvement Grant Program. And that provides funding for if you have gone through our program and you've tested and the results are documented in public, you can then come through our SWG program for remediating the lead at the source of the water fountain in your school. So our pilot round was announced right before the pandemic hit. So we've had some issues closing that out, but we are now pretty much set with it, just under $1 million in grants to 318 water fountains, 128 schools in 37 school districts. So about 69,000 students are being served by this. Round 2 is currently open. So, and it's on a rolling basis now to kind of help schools get in and do this because as we announced round 2, another wave hit. So we've had some issues because schools have had a lot of problems during coronavirus, as you probably know better than I do. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible. So if your school has a documented issue and needs to remediate lead, please look at this program. If you're not sure or you haven't tested, Mass DEP is currently offering additional testing through an EPA grant. So please take a look at that. All the information is right here. And as was mentioned before, this will get sent out. So please take a look at this. It's really easy to do and it's all free. All right, so now getting into the new sources of funding. So recently, as you're probably well aware, the ARPA funding was passed. And one of the uses for that was the any projects that are eligible for clean water or drinking water funding through the state revolving funds. Then also the infrastructure funding, of which the state revolving funds is a major component of that. So we received ARPA funding from the state legislature and the Baker administration. So we're getting, at the end of the day, we're getting about $87 million of funding after earmarks and things like that. So we are looking to give it out through our 2021 intended use plan. So any projects that were in the pipeline and ready to go will receive this funding. The idea behind that was to incentivize these projects to move forward and to also be sure that we meet the spending requirements outlined in the ARPA legislation. So this table here shows the subsidies we'll be providing based on project type. So for PFAS projects, they'll receive an eligible subsidy of 20%, small systems 15%, and drinking water projects 10%. And so that's in addition to anything else that we offer internally. So this is all on top of everything else I already spoke to. And then for clean water projects, CSOs are getting 15%, and then all other projects are getting 7.5%. So we're looking at a decent amount of subsidy here to get these projects to move forward and to provide these important environmental and public health results from these. And this table here just shows what we're looking at for where these projects are located throughout the state. We are hitting all areas of the state. And so we're pretty happy with that. And we're happy with the results we should get from these projects and the amount of subsidy we're able to provide. All right, so the ARPA funding right now is one-time funding through the trust. It's great, and it's a great boost to what we already do. But the infrastructure funding that we're getting over the next 5 years is really a large amount of money that we're looking to implement, and it's really game changing. So if you see here, 1.2 trillion Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act provides for 43 billion in funding to the Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Funds over the next 5 years. And so this is in addition to our annual capitalization grants, which we're looking at about 45 million on clean water and 25 million on drinking water right now. So this is in addition to what we normally get, and our state match component and our contract assistance line item. So we're looking at a decent increase in funding. So these grants are coming in a few new grants in addition to what we normally do. So we have the supplemental grant for the clean water, which is just supplementing the clean water grant that we already received. And we have to give 49% of that away as loan forgiveness. And then we have an emerging contaminants grant for clean water projects, and 100% of that must be given away for clean water projects. And then for drinking water, same thing. We have a supplemental grant that's just adding in addition to what we get for drinking water, and 49% of that must be given away. And then emerging contaminants on drinking water, and 100% of that must be given away. And then we're really excited about the lead service line replacement grants. So 49% of that must be given away as loan forgiveness. And we're really hoping to get it to make a dent in our lead service line issues here, to identify and then subsidize the remediation of these. So in addition to the amounts we have to give away, it is, we recently received guidance from EPA, and we are working through it and hope to have information out on it soon. And the information we have out will be in the 2022 IUP, outlining how we plan on spending this money. But for right now, EPA is pushing us to use the loan forgiveness for disadvantaged communities. So I'd really recommend everyone take a look at where they stand on our list on our website, and see what you stand to gain from these programs, because they are pushing it through disadvantaged communities. And so we are going to use our list that we currently have. And so this just gives an idea of what we're looking at for funding over the next 5 years. We're looking at a substantial increase. And if you think about the amount that we are giving away as loan forgiveness, there will be a lot of funding available for loans. And also, in addition to that, a lot of funding available for loan forgiveness to really reduce the cost of these projects as we're going forward. So really excited to get more work done in the state, fix some of those issues that have been around for a little while that we just haven't gotten to, and to bring in new communities that maybe haven't used the trust in a while, to really give them an incentive to come in, go through our process, and save a lot of money in doing so. So really excited. We got a lot of work to do to get this going, but we have a lot of funding, and I think we're in a really good position to put a dent in some of these issues we're seeing in the state. And then here is our contact information. Sue Perez is the executive director. I am the deputy director, and Maria Pinot runs the side over at DEP who manages the projects. So feel free to reach out to any of us if you have questions. Be happy to talk with you.
Thank you so much, Nate, for the presentation. And I think if you want to just go ahead and click stop to share. What we'll do is we will open it up now to any questions our guests may have this morning. If you've got a question or comment, please feel free to raise your hand. But I'm actually going to get the ball rolling with a quick one, and that is about obviously this is a wonderful program and not a particularly fun topic, Nate, but cost increases in the current climate of inflation. Obviously, we know on the transportation side of the house, where the partnership also does advocacy work, we're seeing projects that have been in the planning stages for many years. Now, you know, as they reach the funding stage of their process, are turning up to be a lot more expensive than they initially were. I assume you're seeing that on the water side. Are you concerned about the trust's ability to meet your planned projects for the current year and the coming year?
We are seeing it, and we have been seeing it for a little bit, of projects coming in more than expected. I'm not necessarily concerned about meeting our lists that we have. We do bake in a few other factors to be sure that we can fund the projects that we're giving offers to. So I think we can fund it, but yes, I think this is certainly an issue that we're seeing across all sectors. It's inflation in items. It's also inflation in terms of the amount of workers we have to do things across the board. It's an issue. And in addition to that, I just want to raise this one change to the SRFs that we're waiting on more guidance for is the Build America, Buy America provision that's being implemented. We don't have guidance on it, so we can't give any further detail on it, but it will change the bidding requirements for projects. So just want to raise that issue, and we'll be as soon as we have more to say on it, we'll get it out there because it is important to notify everyone.
Excellent. And certainly the partnership will help notifying our water stakeholders. I'm
Great,
going to go next to Jen Peterson. Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks, Jason. So Nate, I read through the BIL memo, and I guess I was sort of surprised at how much emphasis is on the disadvantaged.
Mm-hmm.
When you saw the initial legislation, did you feel like it was putting that much of a percentage on, giving grants to the disadvantaged? Is that EPA's interpretation more than sort of what the law asked?
Well, I don't know if I can answer that aspect of it, but so yes, I was surprised actually. They are relying mostly on the Clean Water and the Safe Drinking Water Act as subsidies given out under those provisions. So they're following that very closely. So yes, I was surprised that it's mostly directed towards that, but I mean, there's a great need there. I don't think it's a bad idea, and it fits nicely with our program.
So then my follow-up question would be, I participated in the briefing that they did last night where they were sort of encouraging states to look at that disadvantaged community definition and criteria. Do you see the trust sort of revisiting your existing definition and seeing if you can expand it a little bit to make more communities eligible?
I'm not sure yet. A lot of communities do qualify through our program. And when you do look at it, it is hitting the communities that you think that would need it. And it also provides a lot of subsidy to communities at the lower end of that. I think where we might look at things is subsets of communities that need additional assistance that might not otherwise qualify. That's called out on the clean water side as an additional source of subsidy. So say like the water district, or sorry, the sewer district has a low income section that's not represented, maybe something like that. But overall, I think the calculation does what it needs. And so when they touch on this, we're talking about the entire country who has very different set of standards and what they're looking at. And it varies so much that they're trying to incentivize different ones. EPA has gone through our process multiple times and has approved it multiple times. So I think we're in a good spot. I just think maybe a tweak here and there in the edges to be sure we're hitting everyone. But
thanks, Nate.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jen. And next we'll go to Pam Westgate. Go ahead, Pam.
Thank you. Yeah, so my question, I actually have 3 questions, if that's acceptable.
Of course.
Go right ahead.
The first one is on the ARPA funding. So what I heard you say is that essentially the projects that are on the 2021 list that have already come out, that will essentially expend all the ARPA funds, and there's no more ARPA funds coming out for the communities. Is that correct?
Yes, we have spending requirements we have to hit on this, so we wanted to get the money out the door as soon as possible. If the legislature gives us more funds, I think we could easily put it to use in future years, but this is what we have as of right now.
All right, and you're not expecting further funds?
They haven't told me yet, so when we get them, it would go through the normal legislative process, so like it did last time, so it'd be well publicized.
Okay. My second question is regarding the emerging contaminants on the clean water side. What are your thoughts on what types of projects would actually qualify? Like, I know that PFAS, for instance, treatment plants are just now being required in new permits to start measuring for PFAS. So is there a possibility for more soft costs and testing to be covered, or is this really more for some sort of, I don't know what we would know in 5 years by the time these funds are needed to be spent. I'm just wondering what you're thinking on that.
That's a good question. And let me get back to you on that one because it is based more on the project side. So I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. It's kind of outside my purview on exactly what they're thinking on that, because it is a new area, as you spoke to. So let me follow up with you, Jason. Will the contact information be available after this?
Nate, you're going to get the complete registration
great.
list. You'll be able to reach out to Pam
Okay,
directly.
excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. And then my third question was on the grants and the loan forgiveness. So is your current thinking that for disadvantaged communities, if they were to qualify with a particular project, that 100% of that project would be forgiven or a grant, or are you expecting more to distribute a mix of grants and loans?
A mix of grants and loans. So the way we do it now, as you saw in the presentation, it's a portion of it is loan forgiveness. We'd expect to do the same so we can hit more communities and get these projects going forward as a further incentive. And we expect this to be in addition to what we're already giving away. So we're looking at a decent amount of subsidy for these projects. So, but I know there is some confusion because it does say 100% must be given away of the 40% over the 49%, but it will be a portion of a larger loan.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pam. And if anybody has any additional questions, go ahead and raise your hand. But in the interim, I've got another one for Nate, and that's sort of a process question, rather, in terms of how you might approach communication with cities and towns. So we always monitor projects in our service area, and certainly, Jeremy had noted internally, our service region, we had some municipalities and water districts. They had some projects on the 2021 draft IUP, but they were ultimately left off the final version. When that happens, how much communication is given to a municipality or a water district in terms of why that might be? Do you assist them in potentially bringing a project forward in a future cycle? In other words, if a district or a municipality comes forward with a project, it doesn't receive funding, do they get feedback on the project on what might need to be done in order to make it eligible?
So yes, they do. And also each year is ranked against other projects. So it's tough to say in a given year that it didn't make it this year, but it'll definitely make it next year. So it all depends on what we're getting in and the competitiveness of the funding. But I would say that based on the amount of funding we're getting in the future, the list should be increasing, and projects that might not have gotten on before hopefully would. But then again, we might be seeing just an increase in high quality projects across the board. So we're looking the ranking criteria. And so also this is a mass CEP issue because they rank and evaluate based on environmental concerns and health issues that are way above what I know. But it is all out on Mass CEP's website, how they do it. It's transparent. So if communities are looking for how they're being ranked and what they're looking for, it is out there to take a look at.
Great, thank you. Kristen Ryan, go ahead.
Good morning, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Nate, do you see anything changing in relation to the new funding and the restriction on funding design in projects?
We are looking to increase design funding for projects. That is something that we're interested in doing to try to help move smaller communities along, and communities that have that have issues accessing that sort of funding to get the project going forward. So yes, we've heard that from a number of people, and we are looking into that. And I would hope it gets implemented. But yes, thank you for raising that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Did anyone else have any additional questions for Nate this morning? Going once. Going twice. And Kristen, is that another question, or is your hand just still raised? I want to make sure I don't cut anybody off.
Sorry, no, I forgot to press the button to take it down. Yep.
Excellent. So with that, I do want to thank all of our attendees for logging on this morning. And in particular, I want to thank Nate for taking the time to explain the Clean Water Trust for us and to answer our questions. Follow-up activities for this event for those who are interested. So as I mentioned, today's session is being recorded. We will be posting a recording online. I'll also be doing a follow-up email to all of our registrants this morning with a copy of the slide deck, a link to the recording, as well as the contact information for the Clean Water Trust. And of course, where Nate had any follow-up to do, Nate is also going to get a list of all of our registrants and your contact information as well. So With that, I want to again extend my thanks to Nate and all of our attendees this morning. On behalf of the 495 MetroWest Partnership, thanks everyone for being here. If you are interested in learning more about future events, be sure to go to 495partnership.org, join our email list. But thank you everybody for being on, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.